ACCA, the world's most forward-thinking professional accountancy body.
Welcome to this episode of Careerwise, where this time we're talking about the art of career planning. And I'm joined by Katie O'Malley, who is, I'm going to say a career coach, but I'll let Katie introduce herself properly. Hello, Katie.
Hello, Neil. Thank you so much for having me on, for allowing me to connect with you and your audience. You're right. I am a career coach and I'm a workplace strategist. I am the founder and principal coach of Encourage Coaching. And I like to say we work on both sides of the workplace equation. So helping employees figure out what are their talents, what are their strengths, what are their values, and also working with employers to create workplace environments that at minimum do not cause harm to their employees on a day-to-day basis. And so really trying to tackle the challenges that I think labor markets face across the globe with this idea of it's employee versus employer. And at the end of the day, from my perspective, we're all in this work thing together, whether we want to be or not.
That's a very nice way of looking at it. Very holistic. The question I first had was, can you really plan a career? What's your take?
Yeah, my take is a twofold take, where we are running two types of planning in parallel with each other. So when I'm working with clients, a lot of our work is focused on short-term career planning and career goals, right? So I'll often say, we need to figure out how to get you into an environment short-term that is not causing you harm, and a role where you can feel a sense of competence, a company where you can feel a sense of community, because most of the folks that I work with find themselves in environments that are toxic for them. And what we don't want is people making choices about their future that are rooted in fear and anger and sadness. That's never a good position to be making long-term decisions from, right? So getting people into an environment where they can heal some of the harm or trauma that's been caused to them in the workplace. And then really looking longer term, in that second part of the planning that's running in parallel is, let's figure out where you think you want to go, right? And start to identify what are the opportunities and the benchmarks and choices that you can make to help get you there, which often involves, all right, if I want to be a chief human resources officer in the C-suite one day, which is what some of my clients want to do. We don't just go from being a human resources or people ops coordinator to that role overnight. And so it starts to become about, what are the things I have to do to set myself up for the next role that I think that I want in this moment, so I can continue on that path. But what I like to say to folks is, I don't want to put anything in pen, right? We're doing everything in pencil, and I need you to be flexible to other opportunities and possibilities that may present themselves and come your way. So the average person has 7 different careers in their life, not 7 different jobs, 7 different careers. I'm on number 5. And I have to say, Neil, I never, ever imagined being a business owner. That was never on my bingo card. It was never part of this stepping stone plan, but I was open to the possibility of it and recognized how well my natural talents and my strengths really allowed me to succeed as an entrepreneur and small business owner. And the autonomy that affords me is actually very healthy and healing for me to be able to call the shots. Now, that doesn't mean I am the best boss to myself, but I was open to this possibility and made that career leap in 2022 to go all in on my side hustle, right? And saying to myself, which I think gets to your question, can we plan long term, is in 2022, when I left my full-time job at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, I had enough money stored away to pay for my mortgage, my health insurance, general living expenses, and said, you know what? If I can't make this work in a year, I will go back to working for somebody else in 2023. And so being sure to have those benchmarks set for yourself so you know
Mm.
where those lines are when it comes to be decision making time. I'll pause. I have just been talking for like 5 minutes straight.
That's
Apologies.
yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, well, so you're the expert here. And maybe think it highlights the notion that it's very natural to start off with, I want to be, yeah, the CFO or the CEO of a company one day. That's my big goal. But in that time to get there, there's a good chance you might change your mind. You're going to go through so many experiences, things are going to change. You're going to have several careers perhaps, and that goal will change. Also, I like the idea that you were talking about. It's not necessarily just thinking about what jobs are going to get me to that final goal, but along the way, I still have to live my life well. I still have to be happy.
Yes.
You can be very blinkered and thinking, goal, 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 that's what I'm aiming for. And I will just fight my way through until I achieve it. When actually, it means you're looking too far ahead, perhaps. Just not just thinking about your final goal, but thinking about what's important to yourself. Going back to your point at the beginning about toxic workplaces, they're horrible.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something really important, Neil, that I say to every prospective client, I say on every stage that I get on, regardless
Mm,
of the topic I'm speaking on, is we are humans that happen to work. We are not workers that happen to be human. And
mm.
my job as a career coach is to help clients figure out what type of role and what type of company is actually going
Mm,
to elevate my life outside of work, because that's what we're
mm,
here for.
mm.
We were not put on this planet to become folks who are consumed by our work 12,
Mm.
14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. The 40
Yeah,
hour work week, at least as it stands in America, is really arbitrary.
yeah.
Henry Ford just kind of made that choice while he was producing cars, to be like, oh, my factory workers can't work all the time because then they can't buy a Ford, and then
Mm.
they
Yeah,
can't use that Ford to drive around and go shopping. We need to give
mm.
them some time off to participate in the economy, right?
Yeah,
But I want people to have the energy that they need to be able to enjoy their life after work, during the week, and on the
yeah.
weekends, which for so many people just isn't the case. There is so much burnout
Hmm.
that exists, and my training and education is as a therapist. So my master's
Right,
degree
okay.
is in counseling,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting, at least in America. Insurance companies here don't want to cover therapy sessions that talk about work, because
Oh,
work is not a mental
wow.
health diagnosis. And so
Right.
this is why I pivoted into coaching instead of getting licensed as a therapist, because I wanted to help people at the intersection of mental health and work, and insurance just won't cover that.
Yeah.
Even though we know work and career leads to burnout.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't know is that the symptoms of burnout are actually identical to depression, anxiety, and post traumatic stress.
Yeah.
And so, really wanting to help people find ways to move through what is toxic for them, because
Mm.
when we talk about toxic work environments, what's toxic for me could be very different than what's toxic for you, based upon our values, our
Hmm.
strengths, our sense of belonging and sense of competence in doing the work. So I'm careful to call any environment toxic wholesale, right? Whether it's Uber or some other kind of tech startup or working on
Yeah.
Wall Street, that would be not healthy for me,
Mm.
but it actually fits and is in really great alignment for a lot of folks.
Mm.
And so I think one of the things for your listeners to be thinking about is, what are my non-negotiables when
Yes.
it comes to work? What do I need to feel a sense of dignity, a sense of respect, a sense of community, and a sense of competence? Because
Yeah.
if I can have those four things, chances are work is going to have a net neutral impact on my life.
Yeah. If you can plan a career path in which you prioritize these things, you're going to reach a goal quicker. Also, the end goal isn't the end goal necessarily. If you do want to be a CFO, what kind of CFO do you want to be? What kind of leader would you like to be? If someone's going to start when they've got their pencil in hand, what's the first thing they need to do, would you say?
I think sitting down and thinking about the last time you were stressed out at
Mm.
work, right? And you started to show up in ways that were unbecoming of who
Right.
you know yourself to be, right? When was the last time that happened? And
Mm.
I encourage folks to think about not just the instance, but who were the people, what was the project, what was
Mm,
that kind of trigger point that
mm,
elevated your stress response. And for me, I know I can become really intensely fierce and excitable when someone does not tell me the truth, or when someone says they're going to do something and then doesn't do it, right?
okay.
Or if people say one thing and then do another. I
Mm.
have no patience for that. And it really elevates my stress response. And so for me, knowing that my non-negotiable and thinking about the times in my career that it's happened is knowing I need to work with people who are rooted in integrity and
Mm,
authenticity. I need to be with folks who are willing to take the next best step, even if they don't know, back to our first question,
mm,
exactly where it's going to lead. If it's going to move us forward, that
mm,
is a win for me. And I need to be part of a team and an organization where that is happening consistently and it is the norm and not the exception to the
mm.
rule. And
Yeah,
if I can get those two pieces in place, along with being trusted that I am a great decision maker, because that comes from years of experience and developed
yeah,
expertise, it's going to be good for me, right?
yeah,
If those elements are missing, chances are it's not going to be a good environment for me,
yeah.
or a good role.
How might someone find that out about the company they're looking to apply to? You know, if they're going to, is it like in a job interview? Is it even before you've applied for a job application? How do you find the sort of the situations that are best for you?
Yeah, so for me, words matter,
Mm,
language matters. And so being very discerning when you're looking at a job
yeah.
description, are they using language that resonates with you, that makes you feel excited? Or
Mm,
are they using language that makes you feel anxious and
okay.
worried, right? And so we know the tipping point between excitement and anxiety is a razor's edge, and it can be
Hmm.
hard to really figure that out. But I
Mm,
often will encourage my clients, listen to your body. Is your heart starting to race? Is your face getting red? Do you have knots in your neck or a pit in your stomach as you're reading through a job description? Chances are this is not going to be the job for you, because our
mm,
body knows the answers to questions that our mind hasn't been able to formulate yet, even.
mm,
And so getting really in tune with what your body is trying to tell you and trusting that,
mm.
which we have not really, at least in the States, been socialized to do. Trust
Not
feelings,
here either.
even though they tend to be pretty good sources of data.
Mm,
When you're in the interview, the other thing I work on a lot with clients is how we ask questions that aren't leading in a way that is going to make the prospective employer or hiring manager tell us what we want to hear. So I always will tell my clients, I don't want you to tell the employer what they want to hear in the interview
mm.
unless it's genuine for you. Because otherwise, that
Oh,
is the person they're going to expect to show up on
yeah,
day
yeah.
one,
That's really
and it's
interesting.
not
Yeah,
going to work out. In the
yeah,
same way, I want employers to have that same kind of radical candor. And
yeah.
so being able to ask questions like, what gets rewarded here? Not tell me about a time that someone got rewarded and what was it for, but tell me what gets rewarded here. Tell me what goes unpunished here.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it can be even more frustrating for employees to see people getting away with bad behavior,
Mm,
right? And so asking very clear, direct questions that really give a lot of leeway for the employer or hiring manager to answer pretty truthfully and
yeah.
honestly.
That's a really good way of you doing research live and gaining, because you can put people on the spot a little bit and ask probing questions, I think. I wanted to go back to perhaps it's like a stereotype busting. So when within all this, is it still important to think the 5-year plan or the where do you see?
Mm.
I don't even know if that's a question that employers ask anymore, but like where do you see yourself in 5 years and things like that. Is there value in thinking in timeframes?
Yeah, I think it depends, like anything. No, we are humans, we are not robots,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So what works for me could be very different than what works for you. There is no harm, Neil, in having a 5-year plan, a 7-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan. But again, going back to that idea that we're writing it in pencil and
mm,
not stamping it out in ink. This is what I think is going to be the best for me at this particular moment in time.
mm.
But I am open to the fact that that might change based upon my personal needs, my family needs, my interests, the skills that I'm developing. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes you come across something in work and you're exposed either to a new process, program, policy, something, an idea that just
Mm.
really captivates your
Yeah.
imagination. Follow that. The moment
Ah,
your
that's interesting.
imagination is just captivated and
Yeah.
you are finding yourself being really curious about
Mm,
something, that's when I tell clients, this is what I want you to use as a way to say, it's okay if I diverge from this
mm,
5-year plan now, because I've actually found it something that lights me up in a way nothing else has for
mm.
the last 10 years. And maybe that means I'm not on track to be a CFO anymore, but
Yeah.
I'm going to head in this direction. We've lost the confidence to explore, but gosh, exploring and wandering and getting
Mm.
curious and then following that curiosity are the markers of the folks who have the most satisfaction in their careers.
I like that. I really like the idea, the pencil. Do everything in pencil, have an eraser, be ready to change, be open to things. But what if you find something that inspires you, don't ignore it because it might not be on the plan. Change the plan
Right.
to follow what inspires you. That's a lovely idea. And also thinking about the things that are important to you and the kind of workplaces you'd like to be in. You never know where you're going to end up. Don't be too rigid.
We don't have to smash everything we've done to pieces, right? We get to carry all of those workplace experiences,
Mm,
achievements, the things that we've learned, how we've grown along with us, no matter where we go on those chutes and
mm,
ladders, right? So maybe the other way to think about it is instead of a career path, we're looking at putting together a career portfolio where no
yeah.
matter which step you take, you can pull from just about anything you've done. I mean, I started my career in politics, moved into
Mm,
nonprofit, then commercial real estate, then education. Now I'm a small business owner.
mm,
And all of those experiences have set me up to be really effective at what I do now. And all of the experiences that I had until I got to higher education set me up to be
mm,
really successful there. And so you're not abandoning the investments that you have made in different
mm,
industries and roles because your path has changed. You are simply creating a portfolio that is that much more colorful and bold and interesting,
mm.
and seeing what you can pull from every experience to have an advantage when that next opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, that's a lovely way of putting it.
I really appreciate this particular topic and helping people break free
Mm,
from what we've been told our whole lives, which
yeah.
is go to school, do well, go to college, go to university, do well, and then you're going
Mm,
to get that job and you're going to be in that job for the rest of your life and be in that
mm,
field for the rest of your life. We're being asked to make those big decisions when we're 18, 19, 20 years old, and our brain's not even fully formed until we're
yeah.
25.
Yeah.
It's madness.
It's a bit, it's a bit of a funny thing about the world, isn't it? Is that with so much pressure at such a young age. Well, look, thank you very much for talking to us today. It's much appreciated, and thank you for listening, everyone. It's been a very nice topic, which I think could probably return to sometime in the future. Thanks, Katie.
You're welcome, Neil.
For more career advice, check out the ACCA Careers website and the Student Accountant app. And if you have something in particular you'd like me to cover in the series, get in touch at studentaccountant@accaglobal.com.
This podcast was brought to you by ACCA. Find out how we think ahead at accaglobal.com.